Hello and good afternoon, everybody. It's amazing to be with you all today. This is my first time in Goa, and my first time, obviously, at Goafest, but I'm super happy to be here. And I've done an authentic yoga session this morning in Goa, which is fantastic, and I have my Goan shirt on as well, just for the occasion. Hey. And today, I'm going to be supercharging you, hopefully, with creative effectiveness, how to unleash the potential of your campaigns. So let's start off with a provocative question. Does creativity still work? Well, of course it works, right? So why would we be here at Goafest? Why would I be wearing this shirt if creativity didn't work, right? But it's a bit more complicated than that. It seems like we're having trouble proving that it works. In the State of Creativity report just published by Lions, 25% of respondents said there had been a reduction in investment in creativity due to economic pressures. 24% of respondents felt there was a greater focus on proving the effectiveness of creativity. So there's a lot of disruption going on in the market. There's a lot of economic pressures. This is all having an impact on creativity. So how do we prove the effectiveness of our campaigns? Well, at WARC, we're best placed to be able to do that through best practice and insight. And when it comes to India, where does India sit on the world rankings for creativity? Well, I'm pleased to say that thanks to the incredible showing at Cannes Lions last year, India is very much on the global stage of creativity. 47 Lions medals, up from 22 the previous year, and that has a factor on the creative rankings, putting India at seventh place, up from 23 last year. Now, the imperative now, of course, is to prove that that work works. And that's how we get bigger budgets. That's how we prove the effectiveness of our campaigns, and that's how we can build brands in the future. But how do we make the case for creativity? All things being equal when it comes to campaign duration and reach and investment, creativity can actually supercharge your budget. This is some data from NCS Solutions, which says that creativity can impact the performance of your campaign by a factor of 47%. This is some data from a recent report we've just published by Kantar, and it tells you that top quality creative can quadruple your profit. So both long-term metrics and short-term metrics having an impact on your effectiveness and your ROI. But actually it's the long-term metrics, those components that have the biggest impact on profit ROI. And we all want profit, right? Emotional campaigns are effective in every way. And I think India as a market knows this. There's some beautiful campaigns that have come out over the years. But it's really about diving into emotional insight in a very compelling way. And I think the last 3 years, we have to lean into that even more than we have in the past. But the sad reality is that we're using emotion less than we have in the past. This is some research done by System 1, where they talk about the right brain elements, so the factors that help build human relationships and empathy and other factors that elicit an emotional response. We're using those less than we used to. Instead, we're leaning into left brain elements, which are more literal, more factual, more straightforward, kind of more in keeping in a Zoom culture world that we live in, where everything is kind of straightforward and efficient. We've lost that beautiful ability to be abstract and conceptual. So maybe we're asking the wrong question, not whether creativity works, but what type of creativity works, and when and how are they best applied? Some wise words from my colleague David Tiltman at WARC. So what I'll be taking through is rethinking creativity, the what, and then activating creativity differently, the how. So in terms of rethinking creativity, what is creativity? Now, we've got quite a big audience. Does anyone want to venture a guess out in terms of what they think creativity means? Any guesses? Anyone brave enough? No? Surprises me. Any definitions? Well, anyway, here is a standard definition. Creativity in advertising is about generating original, good, and useful solutions to marketing problems. Fair? Yeah. But there's only one problem with that. The originality is often accompanied with uncertainty and unfamiliarity. By definition, it's going to be unfamiliar. And that's not in keeping with the current climate that we're in, the business climate and the consumer climate, where people are looking for more familiarity. And what Adam Sheridan explains here from Ipsos is the most important aspect of advertising is people, your audience, everyday people. So instead of thinking about creativity benefiting brands, we need to think about creativity benefiting everyday people. And you see this played out in this survey that they did with everyday people on what creativity in advertising actually means. And you can see front and center originality is there, unique and different, but there are other themes, fun and entertaining, interesting and informative, and these provides this joy and happiness. So it's about creating an experience which has a value for the end audience. And we see this played out in recent research that we did. We were commissioned by TikTok to write a white paper on the effectiveness of entertainment as a strategy. And entertaining content in the world of social commerce is a very effective way to drive impact, to engage new audiences, and then take them very quickly down the funnel. Upper funnel, very attractive content to engage them, and then you can go very quickly down the funnel to convert them into sales. So maybe we should revise the definition of creativity. It's about generating original, good, and useful solutions and experiences to marketing problems that are of value to the end audience. And this is an ad from India that I think does this really well. It reached the 5th rung on the creative effectiveness ladder in terms of commercial triumph. I think over time it might even get up to enduring icon. But I think it's a brand that's really, Oyo, the brand, is a really interesting way of them understanding their end audience. Let's have a look.
Small hotel and home owners list on the Oyo app to increase their demand. Near the airport, train station, markets, business centers, residential areas, touristy places, they're everywhere. While those near tourist and business centers were doing fine, others, not really. But with an Oyo everywhere, maybe a hotel room could be used for more. We turned the small hotel's disadvantage into Oyo's biggest advantage.
Da. Allah enjoy pannu.
Day after tomorrow.
Great, all the best.
দাও তো বাবা, একটু দাও দাও। টুকাই ডালটাতে যদি একটু মাছের মুড়োটা দিত না, তাই একদম দারুণ হতো রে।
স্যার 100% আমি বলবো।
হয়ে যাবে।
তুমি বঙ্গ সন্তান, আরে সেটা বলবে তো।
With new, diversely cultural and multilingual reasons, we showed India that on Oyo, you don't just find rooms, you find your second place. And India did come to Oyo.
I think an outstanding campaign, right? And really understanding the value that they can bring to the end audience in terms of how they reposition small hotels. Okay, so the second part of this is, are you using the right type of creativity to achieve your objectives? And that's a fundamental question that you need to ask from the outset. This comes from a recent report that we published on WARC as well, and it looks into 4 different types of creativity. First of all, persuasive creativity. This is about communicating USPs typically in a very persuasive way. It can be done emotionally, can be done rationally. Good for driving volume sales and activation effects, not so good for long-term effects. Secondly, fame-building creativity. This is great for enhancing stickiness with your audience. It amplifies the positive attributes of emotional campaigns. Not as effective at driving short-term direct effects, though. Experiential creativity. This is great at driving digital behaviors. They can invite the consumer into a brand ecosystem and create rich journeys for the customers to explore. And not as effective in terms of driving market share impacts. And that's what we're all ultimately looking for, right? Market-building creativity. Creating new behaviors, new occasions. These are most likely associated with long-term driver of business effects, more likely to be an integrated campaign, and yeah, associated with building strong brand credentials. And this ad is from Australia. I want to take you out of India a little bit in this presentation as well. So this is for Uber Eats. We heard from the CEO of Swiggy yesterday in terms of food delivery. They were number 4, and this campaign over 4 years has taken them to the number 1 spot. Tonight I Will Be Eating is the campaign narrative, and they've brought this to life in a really interesting way around the Australian Open. Let's have a look.
The Australian Open is one of the most branded sports events in the world, with advertisers plastering logos and ads in every corner, trying to find ways to have a presence at the tournament. But we created a way for Uber Eats to own a moment in every single game without a logo in sight. Introducing Tonight I'll Be Eating for Love, an integrated second screen activation based on the live Australian Open score. To our audience, it was simple. When the score was love, Aussies could eat for the price of love on Uber Eats. Every time love appeared on the scoreboard, a code for free food would instantly appear in our Instagram stories. And when love disappeared, so did the codes. But for us, it meant releasing and withdrawing codes up to 130 times a match and 3,640 times over the tournament. Our promo mechanic was designed to infiltrate the Australian Open, so we partnered with the master of infiltration to amplify the activation.
Borat himself, Sacha Baron Cohen, in this ad for Uber Eats.
We introduced Australia to Robbo, a corrupt umpire who would do whatever it took to keep the score at love.
Double fault, love 40.
Are you serious? The ball was in.
Ball was basically out.
What?
Ball was out, I think. Probably out. Got to be honest, I was looking down here, but it sounded like it was out. Inappropriate serve violation. Shaking your head violation. Whoever's scratching his plums, you're ruining it for everyone. Score remains at love 15.
Robbo and Uber Eats disrupted the game while winning the hearts of the Australian public. Did it work? You bet. 102,000 free meals were handed out in just 2 weeks. Plus, there are all these other impressive figures.
You bloody beauty!
Lovely campaign, right? And a great example of market-building creativity. So, how can we activate creativity differently? And I want to leave you with 3 ways you can do that, new and underutilized techniques and tactics. First is inclusivity, the second is sound, and thirdly, we're going to talk about culture. So in terms of inclusivity, there's clear evidence out there, and it's published on WARC, that inclusive advertising is more effective. It's a pathway to create stronger emotional connections. These are rational bonds with your customers by making yourself come across as more relevant and and creating that feeling of trust and familiarity. But inclusivity doesn't have to be diverse casting or diverse storytelling. It can be inclusion of purpose. And I think India as a market does this really well. And this is some data from GWI. Over half of Indians feel that society puts too much focus on looks And Dove, Stop the Beauty Test, did that really nicely, picking up on that insight. We can also see here that 41% would like to see more models in ads who look like regular people. And then over a third would like to see more diversity of models in ads. So I was leaning into this DE&I in India and trying to understand it a little bit more. And Bipro, our editor in India, he flagged this to me as a campaign, and I think this is really interesting. This is the latest Starbucks campaign that launched, I think, about a week ago. And I understand it's had a very polarized reaction in market. But if you indulge me, I'd like to play it today. Let's have a look.
सुनो, इस बार गुस्सा मत होना प्लीज।
Thank you, Papa, for meeting me. I know बड़े साल बीत गए, लेकिन आप आज भी मेरे लिए सब कुछ हो।
कॉफी? तेरी आदतें नहीं बदली।
Free cold coffees for Arpita. Free cold coffees for Arpita.
बेटा, मेरे लिए तो आज भी मेरा बच्चा है। बस एक लेटर ही तो ऐड हुआ है तेरे नाम में।
Close the distance and the way. With your name.
I agree. I think it's a beautiful piece of communication. I'm not Indian, and I don't have the kind of all of the local nuances in market, but I think it's a beautiful execution. And I love the brand integration. I love the fact that they're taking a stand, and I know there will be a polarized reaction to that, and there always will be with Brave Work. But I think, and I don't have the evidence for this, but I think in terms of reaching out and engaging their core audience of younger, upwardly mobile, metro coffee drinkers, I think they're going to love that. And I think it's important on Starbucks to now continue that narrative so it doesn't look like a one-off. But yeah, I agree, a lovely piece of work. So when it comes to making your marketing more inclusive, adopt the right approach to build bonds with your core audience. Inclusion of purpose is proven to be an effective strategy in this market, and lots of lovely examples of that. And be consistent and avoid tokenism or one-off gestures. If you're going to live and breathe this, you have to walk the talk. Sound. First person to guess this brand. Ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Very good. The man in the green. And that's just, we all recognize it automatically, right? It's a sound mnemonic, and the recognition of the brand is immediate. It's very strong. And what we can see from this research is that sonic branding amplifies recognition by up to 8.5 times, but is a really underutilized brand asset. And there's a real opportunity for marketers and agencies to do more of it. Sound can help localize your brand. This is the brand anthem for MasterCard, as depicted in Colombia. Whereas in India, it sounds like this. See, I think it's a wonderful way to localize that brand and make it seem more familiar at a local level. Sound is very, very powerful. And also sound can help take a brand or take an ad away from just being an ad and properly into culture. And this campaign for Airtel, I think you guys will probably all remember it, but it's about the story of the composer behind the Airtel Sonic branding, the tune that they use. A.R. Rahman is the composer, and it's the story of how he composed the track. Let's have a look.
Sounds cool. Hey, do you want to hear this?
It's nice. You want to add something more?
Living a dream, living a hope, let the rhythm take control. Living this day, living it now, live the moment right now.
Airtel. Live every moment.
For me, what's interesting about that piece of communication is the visuals look quite dated, right? But actually the sound feels so timeless and so enduring. And I'm not even Indian, but for me, it's very, very powerful. So how to utilize the full power of sound? It's build the right memory structures to make sure that brand recall is immediate. Design for an ecosystem of touchpoints. The proliferation of platforms and touchpoints means that sound is not just the soundtrack on a video, but can be so much more. Hold music in call centers, whatever it might be. And make sure you're beautifully, beautifully consistent. Okay, and the third and last point is around culture. Now, the era of bubble-up culture was a key trend in our hero report a few months ago on the marketer's toolkit. So this is leaning into the big marketing trends of the year. And cultural formation is increasingly a bubble-up phenomenon that is shaped by communities and creators across an increasingly decentralized media ecosystem. And a data point for you is that 69% of APAC marketers are shifting investment to targeting these interest-based communities. And what's really interesting that brands can generate new demand through participation. So, fame can increase relevance and all the rest of it, but actually leaning into new communities, they can bring to life a kind of shared passion point and attract themselves to new audiences, creating future demand moving forward. And this is research, again, that we brought to life in our white paper for TikTok. So we're all familiar with kind of culture jacking, and this is not just about being newsworthy. It's not just about hijacking the IPL or the Super Bowl or whatever it may be. It's about authentically participating in platforms with its own set of rules and where you find a captive audience. So new subcultures are being born in these platforms all the time. There's an opportunity for brands to really lean into that and grow their consumer franchise. And this last ad I'd like to play for you today is for Heinz and what they did to tap into a lovely insight in the gaming world where gamers, they're in these kind of ferocious battles. And you know what? Because the chances of them being killed is pretty high, they don't actually have time to eat. So what Heinz did is they created some secret spaces in these games where no one could find them, so they could eat a burger with Heinz tomato ketchup. Let's have a look.
These were games back then. Slow, simple, chill. And if needed, we just hit the pause button. These are games now. Fast-paced, complex, professional. And no pause button. When do these people even eat? They don't. Because if you bite, you die. Bite, die. Oh my God! Bite, die. See? So Heinz teamed up with Call of Duty, the #1 game in the world, to figure out the best spots to snack safely on their brand new map, and leaked it to top influencers from around the world. Using burger wraps. This is Heinz Hidden Spots.
Now this is hidden.
I'm gonna kick back and dig into my burger.
Perfect spot. We got the nice view. We can eat our burger in peace. No one will find us here.
Who would think to find us over here?
O negócio que envolve o lanche aqui é o mapa, velho.
Pegar mordisco a mi hamburguesa.
Effectuer ce kill si je n'avais pas eu mon ketchup Heinz.
Heinz ketchup is giving us energy.
Hidden spot, eat a chip.
In only a few hours, the gaming community got hungry for more, and hundreds of spots were mapped out organically, not only in Call of Duty's new map, but also in other blockbuster games.
It's the most secret spot on the map. You can actually enter these waters.
Espérate, tengo que morder mi hamburguesa en el hidden spot.
¡Hala! ¡Ten ammo!
Fast to Heinz, soldier.
Hunger terminated.
Mission accomplished, soldier.
Heinz Hidden Spots. Eat burgers, not bullets.
Let me eat my burger in peace.
Yeah, isn't that a lovely campaign? An example of a FMCG player leaning into bubble-up culture in the gaming community. Really, really lovely. So if you only remember 5 things, these are the 5 things. This is the slide to take a picture of, exactly. Deliver more customer-centric creativity by creating fun, informative, and entertaining experiences that deliver value to the audience. Start with the outcomes you want to achieve, and then consider the type of creativity that's going to deliver that. Inclusive advertising is a great pathway to creating stronger and irrational bonds with your customers. Turn sound into a brand asset and use it across multiple touch points to drive memorability, and co-create the brand experience with existing and new customers by authentically participating in these new platforms as subcultures are born therein. Thank you very much for your time and attention. It's been an absolute delight to speak to you today. Thank you.